The cold emptiness of space held a secret. Nestled around Proxima Centauri, humanity's first true interstellar colony, gleamed like a defiant jewel against the infinite darkness. From a distance, the settlement might have looked fragile, a collection of interconnected habitats, solar arrays, and research facilities clinging to the rocky surface of a world never meant for human life. But looks could be deceiving. Commander Elena Rodriguez stood on the primary observation deck, her fingers dancing across holographic displays that mapped the intricate systems of the colony. Every screen, every readout told a story of human innovation. Behind her, a team of specialists worked with an intensity that bordered on telepathic communication. They weren't just colleagues, they were the last line of defense for humanity's most ambitious project. The colony had never been just about survival. It was a statement. Humans had looked at an inhospitable world and seen possibility. Where other species might have seen a death trap, these colonists saw a challenge to be conquered. Hydroponics laboratories transformed alien soil into fertile ground. Atmospheric processors gradually reshaped the planet's harsh environment. Underground complexes provided protection and resources, each tunnel and chamber a testament to human engineering. A soft chime broke the concentration of the control room. Senior technician Marcus Chen looked up from his station, his eyes narrowing. "Incoming anomalous energy signatures," he announced, his voice calm despite the potential threat. "Something big is approaching." The room tensed. This wasn't their first encounter with the unknown, but something felt different this time. The long-range sensors began painting a picture that sent a collective shiver through the team. These weren't natural phenomena or random stellar events. This was deliberate. This was an approach. Elena moved to the central holographic display. Massive energy readings began to coalesce into recognizable shapes. A fleet. Not just any fleet. The distinctive configuration matched records of the Zornak Collective, a species known for their ruthless expansion across the galaxy. Entire civilizations had been reduced to cosmic dust by their advanced technologies and absolute commitment to territorial conquest. "Initiate secondary defense protocols," Elena commanded. Her voice carried the weight of careful preparation. Years of training, months of specific scenario planning now converged into a moment of potential transformation. The colony was more than just a settlement. It was a living, breathing system designed with multiple layers of defense. What appeared to be simple geological formations began to shift. Solar arrays repositioned themselves. Communication arrays reconfigured with lightning speed. Underground complexes sealed and redistributed energy signatures to create false readings. Marcus's fingers flew across his console, analyzing approach vectors. "Their scanning technologies are sophisticated, but we've been preparing for this moment." A series of complex algorithms began to mask the colony's true capabilities. Where the Zornak expected to see a vulnerable outpost, they would find something entirely unexpected. Deep within the colony's core, massive systems that had been dormant began to hum with potential energy. Adaptive shielding technologies developed through years of research prepared to engage. These weren't standard military defenses. They were the result of humanity's most brilliant minds working together, turning limitations into strengths. Elena studied the approaching fleet. Most would have seen certain destruction. She saw an opportunity. The Zornak had a history of overwhelming their targets quickly, relying on technological superiority and psychological intimidation. But they had never encountered a human settlement before. They had no idea what humanity was capable of when pushed to its limits. "Full system integration," she ordered. The entire colony seemed to take a collective breath. Defensive systems, communication networks, energy distribution, everything synchronized with a precision that bordered on organic intelligence. Outside, the first wave of Zornak ships began to approach. They moved with the arrogance of a species that had never known true resistance. Massive energy weapons powered up, ready to reduce the colony to cosmic debris. They had no idea what was waiting for them. The spark of resistance was about to become a flame. The first wave of Zornak ships cut through space like razor-sharp blades of obsidian and light. Their energy signatures pulsed with the confidence of a species that had conquered hundreds of worlds. Each vessel carried weapon systems that had reduced civilizations to cosmic dust in mere moments. Their long-range scanners had mapped the human colony with clinical precision, identifying what they believed to be critical vulnerabilities. What they didn't understand was the nature of human preparation. Deep within the colony's control center, Commander Elena Rodriguez watched the incoming fleet with a calm that belied the magnitude of the moment. Her team moved with a synchronicity that seemed almost supernatural. Senior technician Marcus Chen worked a complex holographic interface, his fingers dancing across multiple systems simultaneously. "Incoming energy buildup," called out Lieutenant Samira Khan, her voice steady. "They're preparing primary strike vectors." The holographic display showed the Zornak fleet's approach, a textbook invasion formation that had worked flawlessly for centuries. But this was not a typical world. This was not a typical civilization. The first weapon discharge illuminated the space around Proxima Centauri V, a lance of pure energy that could vaporize most planetary defenses in milliseconds erupted from the lead Zornak vessel. It was a statement of absolute technological superiority, a signal to any potential resistance that further struggle was futile. Except the energy beam didn't behave as expected. Embedded within the colony's outer defensive perimeter were adaptive metamaterial shields developed through years of collaborative research. What looked like simple geological formations suddenly shimmered with complex energy patterns. The destructive beam split, refracted, and was partially absorbed by the defensive system. "Gravitational redirection active," Marcus announced. The entire planetary defense network was coming alive, transforming the very environment into a weapon. The Zornak fleet's tactical computers began to malfunction. Their invasion algorithms, tested and proven across hundreds of conquered worlds, started to produce unexpected results. Where they expected total destruction, they found resistance. Where they anticipated complete submission, they encountered adaptive defense systems that seemed to think and respond in real time. Orbital defense platforms emerged from what had appeared to be harmless rock formations. Solar arrays transformed into precision targeting systems. Communication satellites became part of an interconnected defensive web that anticipated and countered each alien attack vector. Elena watched the tactical display with a sense of calculated anticipation. This wasn't just about defending a colony. This was about demonstrating a fundamental truth about human potential. The Zornak's second wave approached, compensating for their initial failure. Smaller strike craft began to separate from the main fleet, designed to penetrate planetary defenses through sheer overwhelming force. Their pilots had been bred for conquest, trained in combat techniques that had crushed countless civilizations. They had never encountered human creativity. Underground launch systems that looked like simple mining equipment suddenly transformed. Repurposed drilling machines became kinetic weapon platforms. Orbital mechanics became a weapon, with the colony using the planet's gravitational field and carefully positioned defensive satellites to create a complex defensive matrix. Electromagnetic pulse sequence prepared, Samira called out. The colony's energy systems began to pulse in a pattern that would disrupt the Zornak's advanced technologies. The first wave of smaller strike craft found themselves caught in unexpected gravitational eddies. Weapon systems that should have obliterated planetary defenses suddenly found themselves redirected, their own energy turned against them. It wasn't just defense. It was a form of technological judo that the Zornak couldn't comprehend. Marcus looked up from his console, a rare smile crossing his face. "They're not adapting," he said. "They're repeating the same strategies that worked on other worlds." And that was their critical weakness. Humans didn't just defend. They transformed challenges into opportunities. Each alien attack became a learning moment, each defensive action a chance to understand and ultimately overcome the technological threat. The space around Proxima Centauri became a canvas of human innovation. Energy beams danced, gravitational fields warped, Defensive systems that looked passive moments ago now moved with a kind of living intelligence. The Zornak fleet began to realize something terrifying. This was not a typical conquest. This was not the typical world. This was humanity's first true stand. Silence filled the Zornak command vessel. Holographic displays flickered with impossible data, readings that defied everything in their centuries of military conquest. The human colony had not just survived their initial assault, it had transformed the very nature of the conflict. Chief Analyst Krovac studied the tactical readouts with growing unease. Hundreds of worlds had fallen to the Zornak collective, each conquest following a precise, mathematically perfect strategy. But this human settlement was an anomaly that threatened to unravel everything they understood about warfare. Back on the colony, the control center hummed with a different kind of energy. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about understanding, adapting, and ultimately overcoming. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the center of a whirlwind of innovation. Around her, specialists from diverse backgrounds worked with an intensity that bordered on collective consciousness. A retired aerospace engineer collaborated with a quantum physicist. A former deep-sea drilling expert discussed complex energy redirection with a communications specialist. "We're not just defending," Marcus Chen announced, pulling up a series of complex holographic models. "We're learning." Every alien weapon discharge, every attack vector became a new piece of information. Where the Zornak saw a single moment of combat, the humans saw a treasure trove of data. The colony's research teams worked in real time. Captured energy signatures from the alien weapons were already being analyzed, understood, potentially weaponized. Defensive systems that had performed well were being improved instantaneously. It was evolution in its purest form, rapid, adaptive, relentless. Lieutenant Samira Khan managed a network of communication arrays that did far more than just defend. Each intercepted alien transmission was a puzzle to be solved, a glimpse into the Zornak's technological ecosystem. What looked like simple communication interference to the aliens was actually a complex data-gathering operation. In the hydroponics bay, scientists were already exploring how the colony's life support systems could be weaponized. Atmospheric processors could become precision environmental control systems. Waste recycling technologies could be transformed into complex defensive mechanisms. Nothing was static. Everything was a potential solution. The Zornak command struggled to comprehend the human approach. Their own technological development followed strict hierarchical processes. Innovations required centuries of committee approvals, rigorous testing, and conservative implementation. Humans seemed to innovate in real time, turning limitations into strengths with a speed that was almost incomprehensible. "They're rewriting the rules of engagement," Krovac muttered, watching another failed attack vector. The human colony didn't just defend. It anticipated. It transformed. Each alien strategy was met not just with resistance, but with a complete reimagining of the conflict. Back in the colony's central research hub, teams worked on technologies that blurred the line between defense and innovation. A system designed to protect against radiation could be quickly modified to become an offensive electromagnetic pulse. A mining laser could become a precision targeting weapon. The entire colony was a living, breathing adaptive system. Dr. Rodriguez understood the true power of human potential. It wasn't about having the most advanced technology. It was about the ability to imagine, to collaborate, to transform challenges into opportunities faster than any potential threat could adapt. Marcus looked up from his console, a spark of excitement in his eyes. "We're not just collecting data," he said. "We're creating a comprehensive understanding of their entire technological ecosystem." Each alien weapon discharge, each failed attack became a lesson. Where the Zornak saw a battle, humans saw an opportunity for growth. The communication networks began to show something unprecedented. The humans weren't just defending their colony. They were developing technologies that could fundamentally change the nature of space warfare. Adaptive shielding, quantum communication networks, energy redirection systems that could turn an entire planetary environment into a defensive mechanism. Krovax realized something terrifying. This wasn't just a battle. This was a fundamental challenge to everything the Zornak understood about technological superiority. The innovation crucible was heating up, and humanity was just getting started. Outside, the space around Proxima Centauri continued to shimmer with potential. Each moment was a testament to human creativity, to the power of collaborative problem-solving, to the fundamental truth that true strength lies not in technology, but in the ability to imagine, to adapt, to overcome. The silence was deliberate, a calculated pause that would have broken the spirit of any other species they had encountered. The Zornak command vessel hung in space, its massive form a testament to centuries of galactic conquest. Chief Analyst Krovax studied the human colony with growing frustration, searching for the psychological weakness that had crumbled countless civilizations before. They would find none. Inside the colony's central command, the atmosphere buzzed with an energy that defied traditional understanding of threat response. Where other species would show fear, these humans displayed something far more dangerous: curiosity, determination, and an almost playful resilience. Lieutenant Samira Khan intercepted another wave of alien communication attempts. Each transmission was a psychological probe, designed to instill fear, to create doubt, to fragment the colony's unified response. To the Zornak, psychological warfare was a precise science, a method of conquest as reliable as their most advanced weapon systems. The human response was anything but predictable. "They're trying to rattle us," Marcus Chen announced, a hint of amusement in his voice. He pulled up holographic displays showing the intercepted alien communications. Each message was a carefully constructed threat, a linguistic weapon designed to break morale. The colony's communication team had other plans. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched as her team began to craft their response. It wasn't about direct confrontation. It was about demonstrating a fundamental truth about human spirit the Zornak could not comprehend. The first response came through their communication arrays, not a military transmission, but a series of seemingly random data packets. To the alien systems, it looked like noise, but it was something far more sophisticated: cultural information, mathematical puzzles, fragments of human art, music, scientific discoveries. Each packet was a challenge, an invitation to understand rather than destroy. Krovax's communication specialists became increasingly agitated. Their standard psychological breakdown protocols were failing spectacularly. Humans didn't respond with fear. They responded with creativity. One intercepted transmission featured a group of colonists playing music in the hydroponics bay. Another showed children in the educational center solving complex mathematical problems. Still another displayed engineers laughing while solving a seemingly impossible technical challenge. These weren't just communications. They were a statement of human resilience. The Zornak had conquered species that collapsed at the first sign of overwhelming force. They had reduced civilizations to cosmic dust by targeting their will to resist. But these humans were different. Each attack seemed to make them stronger, more unified, more determined. Marcus decoded another alien communication attempt. "They're trying to create division," he explained to the team. "Typical conquest strategy. Identify internal weaknesses, exploit cultural differences." He paused, a smile spreading across his face. "They have no idea how we actually work." The colony's response was a masterpiece of psychological judo. Instead of fear, they broadcast hope. Instead of division, they demonstrated unity. Scientific discoveries were shared openly. Cultural exchanges were broadcast across communication networks. Each transmission was a challenge to the Zornak. "Understand us. Try to comprehend us." Lieutenant Khan discovered something remarkable in the communication patterns. The Zornak were becoming increasingly confused. Their invasion algorithms couldn't process a species that saw potential threats as opportunities for communication, for understanding. Dr. Rodriguez understood the deeper strategy. This wasn't just about defending a colony. This was about challenging fundamental assumptions of conflict, of interaction, of what it meant to encounter a truly different civilization. The hydroponics bay became a symbol of their approach. Plants grew where no plants should survive. Complex ecosystems were created in the most challenging environments. It was a metaphor for human potential, the ability to not just survive, but to thrive under impossible conditions. Krovax watched in growing frustration as another psychological attack failed. The human colony didn't just resist. They transformed every interaction into an opportunity for growth, for understanding. The space around Proxima Centauri continued to shimmer with potential. Each moment was a testament to a fundamental truth the Zornak were just beginning to understand. Humanity was not a civilization to be conquered. Humanity was a force to be reckoned with. The transformation began quietly. What looked like simple mining equipment and research infrastructure suddenly revealed a complexity that defied conventional understanding of defensive capabilities. The entire star system was becoming a weapon. Commander Elena Rodriguez stood at the heart of an operational miracle. Around her, the colony's most brilliant minds worked with a precision that bordered on telepathic communication. Every system, every piece of infrastructure was being repurposed with breathtaking speed and creativity. Marcus Chen's fingers danced across holographic interfaces that seemed to anticipate his thoughts. Orbital mechanics became a weapon. Gravitational fields transformed into defensive networks. What the Zornak saw as a simple planetary outpost was actually a living, breathing strategic organism. Adaptive resonance field coming online, Lieutenant Samira Khan announced. Her voice carried a mix of scientific excitement and strategic determination. The colony's communication arrays began to pulse with a complex energy that did more than just defend. They anticipated. Repurposed mining lasers emerged from geological formations that had looked completely innocuous moments before. Solar collection arrays repositioned themselves, becoming precision targeting systems that could redirect energy with microscopic accuracy. Underground complexes that seemed designed for resource extraction revealed themselves as intricate defensive networks. The Zornak fleet found itself caught in a trap of unprecedented complexity. Each approach vector was met not just with resistance, but with a complete reimagining of spatial warfare. The humans weren't just defending, they were rewriting the fundamental rules of conflict. Chief Analyst Krovax watched in growing horror as their invasion strategies collapsed. The long-range scanners of the Zornak command vessel struggled to make sense of the increasingly complex defensive network. What should have been a simple conquest had become a nightmare of unpredictability. Asteroid fields became weapon systems. Planetary resources transformed into defensive mechanisms. The entire star system was becoming a single integrated defensive network that thought and responded in real time. Each alien attack was not just defended against, it was studied, understood, and ultimately turned into a new defensive capability. They're using the entire planetary ecosystem as a weapon, one of Krovax's senior tactical analysts muttered in disbelief. Communication networks merged with defensive systems. Atmospheric processors became energy redirection platforms. Even the colony's waste recycling systems were being integrated into a comprehensive defensive strategy. Marcus identified a critical breakthrough. The colony wasn't just defending itself, it was learning. Each alien weapon discharge, each attack vector became instantaneous data that was immediately integrated into their defensive capabilities. What would take most civilizations decades of research was happening in real time. The first truly devastating counterattack came not from traditional weapon systems, but from a complete reimagining of spatial mechanics. Gravitational fields were manipulated with precision that seemed to defy known physics. Entire squadrons of Zornak strike craft found themselves caught in unexpected energy eddies, their advanced navigation systems completely overwhelmed. Lieutenant Khan's communication networks did more than just defend. They anticipated. They learned. Each alien transmission became a piece of a larger puzzle, a way to understand and ultimately neutralize the invasion force. The humans weren't just responding to the Zornak. They were several steps ahead. Dr. Rodriguez understood the deeper strategy. This wasn't about winning a single battle. This was about demonstrating a fundamental truth about human potential. Every challenge was an opportunity. Every limitation was a chance for innovation. The colony's hydroponic systems began to play a critical role. What looked like simple agricultural infrastructure became part of a complex environmental control network. Atmospheric processors became precision energy redirection systems. Nothing was single-purpose. Everything was adaptive. Krovax realized something terrifying. This wasn't just a battle. This was a fundamental challenge to everything the Zornak understood about technological warfare. The humans weren't just defending. They were transforming the entire nature of the conflict. The space around Proxima Centauri continued to shimmer with potential. Each moment was a testament to human creativity, to the power of collaborative problem-solving, to the fundamental truth that true strength lies not in technology, but in the ability to imagine, to adapt, to overcome. The grand stratagem was unfolding, and humanity was just getting started. News traveled faster than light, not through traditional communication channels, but through a complex network of whispers, data fragments, and impossible stories. The Zornak collective's reputation of invincibility was crumbling, one transmission at a time. In the dark corners of distant star systems, subjugated civilizations began to watch. Generations had lived under the shadow of Zornak conquest, their spirits crushed by centuries of technological superiority. Now, something unprecedented was happening around Proxima Centauri. The communication arrays of the human colony worked overtime. It wasn't just about defending anymore. It was about sending a message that would echo across the galaxy. Each transmission was carefully crafted, a delicate balance of defensive data, scientific discoveries, and a fundamental challenge to the existing galactic order. Chief Analyst Krovax received reports from border outposts that made no sense. Conquered species were beginning to show signs of unexpected resistance. Communication interceptors picked up increased activity, hushed conversations, a growing sense of possibility that had been absent for generations. Marcus Chen understood the deeper strategy. Information was the most powerful weapon. The colony wasn't just fighting a war. They were inspiring a revolution of thought. Lieutenant Samira Khan managed a network of communication relays that did far more than gather intelligence. Each transmission was a carefully constructed narrative. Scientific discoveries shared openly. Cultural exchanges broadcast without reservation. Mathematical puzzles that challenged fundamental assumptions of technological development. The first external response came from an unexpected source. The Lyrian archipelago, a species that had been under Zornak control for over 3 centuries, began to show signs of technological awakening. Adaptive systems that had been dormant for generations started to pulse with new potential. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched the developing situation with a careful eye. This was more than a military engagement. This was a fundamental challenge to the existing galactic power structure. Every transmission, every intercepted communication, was an opportunity to demonstrate human potential. Krovax's communication specialists became increasingly agitated. The standard suppression protocols that had worked for centuries were failing. Conquered species were beginning to ask questions, to imagine possibilities, to remember what resistance felt like. The colony's research teams worked in overdrive. Each piece of technology, each scientific breakthrough was carefully documented and broadcast, not as a threat, but as an invitation, a challenge to understand, to grow, to evolve. Scattered reports began to filter through the galactic communication networks. Minor rebellions, technological breakthroughs in previously subjugated systems, small acts of resistance that would have been crushed immediately just months before now seemed to have a chance of survival. Marcus decoded a particularly interesting communication intercept. A group of scientists from a previously conquered world had begun recreating some of the defensive technologies glimpsed in the human colony's transmissions. It wasn't just about fighting back. It was about reimagining what was possible. The hydroponics research became an unexpected symbol of hope. Transmission showed how humans could create life in the most challenging environments. Each image of plants growing in seemingly impossible conditions became a metaphor for resistance, for potential, for hope. Lieutenant Khan discovered something remarkable in the communication patterns. The Zornak were losing control of their own narrative. Their communication networks, once a tool of suppression, were becoming a vector for liberation. Krovax realized the true scale of the problem. This wasn't just about a single human colony. This was a fundamental challenge to the entire concept of galactic conquest. The humans had done something unprecedented. They had given hope to the hopeless. The space around Proxima Centauri continued to shimmer with potential. Each moment was a testament to a fundamental truth that was spreading across the galaxy. Resistance was possible. Innovation knew no boundaries. Humanity was not alone. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The entire sector of space became a battlefield unlike any in galactic history. The Zornak Collective brought their entire sector fleet, a massive armada that had crushed hundreds of civilizations. Thousands of ships converged around Proxima Centauri, their energy signatures creating a web of destructive potential that could obliterate entire planetary systems. They had no idea what was waiting for them. Commander Elena Rodriguez stood at the center of a storm of human innovation. Around her, the colony's most brilliant minds worked with a synchronicity that defied traditional understanding of military coordination. Every system, every piece of infrastructure was about to become part of the most complex defensive strategy ever conceived. Full system integration initiated, Marcus Chen announced. His voice carried a calm that belied the magnitude of what was about to unfold. The entire star system was transforming into a single living weapon. Massive asteroid fields began to move. What looked like simple space debris revealed themselves as precisely positioned kinetic platforms. Each rock became a potential weapon, guided by an intricate network of quantum communication systems. The laws of orbital mechanics became a tool of war more precise than any energy weapon. Lieutenant Samira Khan managed a communication network that did far more than coordinate defenses. Each alien approach vector was anticipated, understood, and transformed into an opportunity. The Zornak fleet found itself navigating a battlefield that was literally changing around them. Chief Analyst Krovax watched in growing horror as their invasion strategy collapsed. Long-range scanners struggled to make sense of the increasingly complex defensive network. What should have been a simple conquest had become a nightmare of unpredictability. The first wave of Zornak strike craft encountered the initial defensive layer. Quantum-entangled communication networks created a defensive grid that seemed to think and respond in real time. Energy weapons that should have destroyed entire planetary defenses found themselves redirected, their own destructive potential turned against them. Gravitational fields became weapons. Planetary resources transformed into defensive mechanisms. The entire star system moved with a living intelligence that the Zornak could not comprehend. Each alien attack was not just defended against, it was studied, understood, and ultimately neutralized. They're using the entire planetary ecosystem as a weapon, one of Krovax's tactical analysts muttered in disbelief. Communication networks merged with defensive systems. Atmospheric processors became energy redirection platforms. Even the colony's waste recycling systems were integrated into a comprehensive defensive strategy. Marcus identified a critical breakthrough. The colony wasn't just defending. It was learning and evolving faster than the Zornak could adapt. Each weapon discharge became instantaneous data, immediately integrated into their defensive capabilities. What would take most civilizations decades of research was happening in milliseconds. The hydroponics research became an unexpected weapon. Biological systems that could adapt to the most challenging environments were now part of the defensive network. Atmospheric processors became precision energy management systems. Nothing was single-purpose. Everything was adaptive. Lieutenant Khan's communication networks did more than defend. They anticipated. They learned. Each alien transmission became a piece of a larger puzzle, a way to understand and ultimately neutralize the invasion force. The humans weren't just responding. They were several steps ahead. Entire squadrons of Zornak ships found themselves caught in unexpected energy eddies. Navigation systems failed. Weapon platforms became useless. The battlefield itself had become a living, thinking entity that responded to every alien move with impossible precision. Dr. Rodriguez understood the deeper strategy. This wasn't about winning a single battle. This was about demonstrating a fundamental truth about human potential. Every challenge was an opportunity. Every limitation was a chance for innovation. Krovax realized something terrifying. This wasn't just a battle. This was a fundamental challenge to everything the Zornak understood about technological warfare, about the nature of resistance, about the potential of a truly adaptive civilization. The space around Proxima Centauri became a canvas of human creativity. Energy beams danced. Gravitational fields warped. Defensive systems that looked passive moments ago now moved with a kind of living intelligence. The breaking wave was about to crash, and humanity was ready. Silence descended across the star system. The remnants of the Zornak fleet drifted like broken shadows against the infinite darkness. What had begun as an absolute conquest had transformed into the most significant defeat in galactic history. Commander Elena Rodriguez stood on the observation deck, watching the final moments of the conflict unfold. Around her, the colony's team moved with a mixture of exhaustion and quiet celebration. They had done more than defend a single world. They had changed everything. Marcus Chen began processing the vast amounts of data collected during the conflict. Each moment of the battle was a treasure trove of scientific and strategic information. The communication networks continued to pulse with a complex energy that spoke of potential beyond simple military victory. Lieutenant Samira Khan managed the initial communication broadcasts. This wasn't a moment of gloating. This was an invitation. The data streams shared openly showed not just their defensive capabilities, but the fundamental principles that made such innovation possible. Chief Analyst Krovax of the Zornak Collective transmitted the official surrender. But it was more than a simple admission of defeat. It was a fundamental acknowledgement of a new reality. The transmission contained layers of complexity, confusion, respect, and a grudging recognition of something unprecedented. The colony's research teams worked quickly. The technology captured from the Zornak fleet would be studied, understood, and ultimately shared, not as a weapon, but as an opportunity for collective growth. Every piece of alien technology became a lesson, a chance to understand a different approach to innovation. Across the galaxy, other subjugated civilizations began to receive the first transmissions. The impossible had happened. The Zornak Collective, a force that had seemed invincible for centuries, had been defeated by a single human colony. Dr. Rodriguez understood the deeper significance. This wasn't just a military victory. This was a demonstration of a fundamental truth about intelligent life: adaptation, creativity, the ability to see challenges as opportunities. The first external responses began to come in. The Lyrian archipelago, long under Zornak control, sent messages of cautious hope. Scientific outposts from various star systems began to analyze the transmitted data. What they found challenged everything they understood about technological development. Marcus discovered something remarkable in the initial data analysis. The colony's defensive systems had done more than just protect. They had created a new paradigm of technological interaction. Each defensive action was a form of communication, a way of understanding that went beyond traditional concepts of conflict. The hydroponics research became an unexpected symbol of hope. Systems designed to create life in the most challenging environments now became a model for galactic cooperation. The ability to grow, to adapt, to thrive, these were now seen as the most valuable technologies. Lieutenant Khan's communication networks began to spread a different kind of message: scientific discoveries, cultural exchanges, mathematical challenges that invited collaboration rather than conflict. The humans weren't conquerors. They were inviting others to imagine new possibilities. Krovax's final transmission contained something unprecedented: a request for dialogue, for understanding. The Zornak Collective was beginning to realize that their model of galactic expansion had been fundamentally flawed. The space around Proxima Centauri continued to shimmer with potential. Asteroid fields that had been defensive platforms now became the foundation for new scientific research. Communication networks that had been weapons of defense now became bridges of understanding. The colony wasn't just a settlement anymore. It was a beacon, a demonstration of what was possible when a civilization approached challenges with creativity, collaboration, and an unwavering belief in potential. Dr. Rodriguez looked out at the star system. They had defended more than a colony. They had defended a fundamental truth about intelligent life. That true strength wasn't about technological superiority. It was about the ability to grow, to adapt, to see every challenge as an opportunity. The first wave of diplomatic missions began to arrive, not as conquerors, not as threats, but as students, as potential partners. Humanity had not just survived. They had transformed the very nature of galactic interaction. And this was just the beginning.